Thank you so much, Sherelle. This is wonderful. I love this group over here. You ask the best questions. And as you know, Sherelle said, this is not only live, but it's also interactive. So we definitely want to hear from you. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. And so in order to do that, we'll ask those that come up that we'll ask Apostolis, who is the expert there. But also, as Sherelle said, we've done a tremendous amount of research together, Apostolis and myself, about the Jewish heritage in Ohrid. Apostolis is a guide there for many, many years. He runs a large guiding group. And we are particularly thrilled that it is a Jewish heritage tour that we are obviously bringing to this group today. So it is the beautiful lakeside city. If you are familiar, Ohrid, North Macedonia, one of the most beautiful areas, one of the Balkans' best kept secrets. It's called Jerusalem of the Balkans, go know. So it's a place with an incredible Jewish story to tell. It's not just a tour, it's really a journey back in time together with Apostolis and all of you. He knows every hidden corner and every store that makes Ohrid special. So we will together uncover the traces of a community that once thrived here, from the bustling lanes where Jewish merchants sold their goods to quiet spots that still hold whispers of prayers. Apostolis will bring these places and the people who were there to life for us. So Jewish life, just to give you a little background in Ohrid, because it may be unfamiliar with some of you. I know I had to do quite a lot of research about this, but fascinating. It reached its height during the Ottoman period, when Sephardic Jews, welcomed after the expulsion from Spain, built their homes, businesses, and a very strong sense of community here. So we're going to explore what that daily life looked like, traditions, and some of the traditions, and the food that endured. We had a lot of fun with food. How this small but vibrant community contributed to the cultural and economic fabric of Ohrid and what is today North Macedonia. And yes, we'll also talk about resilience and what happened during the Second World War and the memories that remain today. So as we walk these streets together, think of it as more than sightseeing. Think of it as an act of remembrance, an opportunity to honor those lives and stories that might otherwise fade away. And if you yourself have any sort of connection, that would be fascinating for all of us. So please pipe in about that. Apostolis has prepared some incredible stories, and you'll see how the Jewish heritage is still part of Ohrid's soul even today. So you will be receiving from Sherelle a trip kit. It's 10 pages that will help you further immerse yourself in this. So if you miss something, it'll probably be in there as well. And she'll be sending that out. We prepared that also for you as an accompany. And we really want this to be a very active and participating one. So do chime in with your questions. And just like you, I'm going to fade into the background as well. This is Ohrid in my background, but I will be fading into the background as well, so that we can really focus on the beauty of the lake, the beauty of Ohrid, and on Apostolis's incredible, incredible narrative. He does it both in person. You should know he does amazing guiding in person, as well as what we're going to experience today, live streaming 7 o'clock, as we heard, in Ohrid, North Macedonia. So with that, let me introduce you to our guide today and the place that we're going. Wow, that is a beautiful shot at 7 o'clock, just at, I guess, as the sun is setting on the lake. And Apostolis, over to you now.
Well, that was a nice introduction, actually. Hello, my dear friends from all around the world. Well, my name is Apostolis, and I will try to deliver my city of Ohrid in the best light that I can, even though the light now is getting down, actually, because here it's 7 o'clock p.m. Anyway, let's just start the tour. Behind me, that you see, well, not the boats, but actually the lake. Or let me just turn the camera on the other side, because you were watching before, and now you can also, wait a minute, second. Oh, right. See, oh, here it is. Oh, this is just a small part of the old town of Ohrid, the place where I am living here, the city that has continuously lived for thousands of years. We're talking about probably 4,000 to 5,000 years. And this is the old town of Ohrid, ladies and gentlemen. But okay, let me just try to tell you some things first about my country, and then we're going to combine that with the history as well, and what happens during the times and when actually the Jewish people used to be here to come, because they were here even before, like BCE, my dear friends. We're talking about even before the Roman times, because even the Romans used to be here. Before the Romans, this place used to be part of that ancient Macedonian kingdom of the times of the Alexander the Great and Philip II. Well, that's why no wonder we called actually Macedonia. Well, now North Macedonia, since there is the political issue between, let's say, Greece as well and this country about who is the real descendant of the Alexander the Great. However, the history of the Jews, my dear friends, it goes back to over even 2,000 years, even before that. We say that probably from the Roman times, but I do believe that probably even before that. Well, since the Roman times, my dear friends, yeah. The first Jews that came here to now North Macedonia, as we say, well, they were escaping trouble in the other parts from the Roman Empire, and some settled in the Roman province of Macedonia. So, and a letter from Agrippa, from the Roman Emperor Caligula, proves that there were Jews in the area back then. So here there were actually these people living, of course. When we're talking about this place, I'm not talking about only the city of Ohrid. There are several cities about that. But like I said, now let me just walk around and let me give you some short, small kind of 360 degrees around here view, so you will see how the city looks like, because this is the old town of Ohrid that you see from the left side. We have lots of people coming here because we are a touristic place. We do have people coming from all around the world because they would like to have their summer vacation swimming in this beautiful lake. It's not a sea, it's a lake. So if you come to swim here, well, you will have no problems because you will never be eaten by any shark or any sea creatures, no Loch Ness monsters whatsoever, what they say. It's perfectly safe for swimming, but it's one of the biggest lakes in Europe, one of the biggest, generally the biggest lake on the Balkans here. So my country, North Macedonia, the lake that we have here is the reason why we have the tourism. So this lake, from the other side that you see down there, it has around 15 kilometers. So that should be around 10 miles. If most of you are actually measuring with miles, of course, if you come from US, most of you. 30 kilometers long, so that should be around 20 miles and almost 300 meters deep. So we're talking about around 1,000 feet, more or less. So it's really old lake, 3.5 to 5 million years old, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the reason why we have the tourism here. And that's why now at the moment I'm actually even maybe shouting because I cannot hear myself, because we have lots of people here and it's pretty much crowded. So I hope you hear me really well. Now let me get you here inside in the old town of Ohrid, as I said. So this was the place that has this continuity life, especially I'm talking about these two hills, the first one that you see and the next one there. So we do have here people who are living in these houses, which these houses were mainly built between the 18th and the 19th century. So we're talking about pretty much the Ottoman times, because the Ottomans used to be here from the 15th and until the 20th century. So when we talk about the Ottoman times, well, actually the Middle Ages, so the Jewish people, they continued to the region here after the Romans left. So they used to be here. So until the 13th, the 1400s. Most of the Jews here, were the Romanian Jews. So the group that lived in the Balkans for centuries, actually. By the way, what you see here in front of us, this beautiful heart shape, and you see it actually the name up there, which is written in Cyrillic alphabet. This is, by the way, the alphabet that we're using here in my country, the Cyrillic alphabet. So Ohrid, that is the name of the city. Nice, beautiful place, really. And the guy is actually now waiting. Probably he's going to leave, so maybe you'll have some nice, beautiful pictures there. He doesn't know that I'm recording, I suppose. Like I said, this is the place that has these beautiful activity tourists for all the time of the year, but mostly we're talking about these summer times. So we have pretty much lots of people that are coming from all around the world. We have people that come from Europe, from outside from Europe as well. We have people who would like to come here to have their summer vacations, and they would like to explore the city, to see the history, because we do have quite a lot of history, definitely. And of course, that's why we do have here tourist activity, like as I said, but mostly now it is the time when we have this, like I said, tourist activity. And now I'm going to just walk here past really a bit faster, because they're preparing, as I said, for the concerts. We do have lots of them here, so I can get inside in the old town of Ohrid. So the old town of Ohrid, as I said here, the Jewish people that used to be here even before the Ottomans, even the times, like I said, even in the Roman times. So when we talk about these times, actually, I can say that, for example, some Jewish people, they were living here, but also there were Jewish people living, of course, in some other areas, right? And we're talking about the central part of this country. For example, we're talking about, let's say, Stovi. This is one of the cities, well, ancient cities since the Roman times. We're talking about the year 165. That's when this man who used to be living there, probably you have heard about him, Tiberius Polyharmus. If I spell it right, I'm not quite sure, because I'm not really good with the name sometimes. He was called the father of the synagogue. He turned his house into a synagogue, by the way. So this building had a prayer room, a dining room, and a porch. And he lived upstairs. And remains of his synagogue, by the way, my friends, nowadays is actually even found there, founded, and now they're actually in this place. So you can check. Stopi is one of the archaeological places from the Roman times, my dear friends, where definitely you can find some of the leftovers from the Jewish community. So that's a proof that actually there was a Jewish community that was right really close to the city of Ohrid, just about, let's say, less than 100 miles. Now, let me get back here, because I would like to show you something else, because we are now in the old town of Ohrid, and I believe that the ladies will gonna like this thing here. The famous Ohrid pearls, something that I have to talk about, because when we talk about Ohrid, we have this beautiful lake. I need to tell you this beautiful story that we have about these pearls. Ladies and gentlemen, the pearls that you see here, we produce them. So they are not like the usual normal pearls, ladies and gentlemen, because the pearls that we have them here, we bake them, and there is one type of fish that we use as a main ingredient, and here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the fish. We call it the bleak in our language. Sorry, in English, in Plashica, in our language. So they're using the scales of this fish. They're using the scales of this fish in order to produce these pearls. So they are taking the scales, they actually boil the scales, they put some chemicals inside, and that's how they make this liquid, well, emulsion. Well, this is not liquid anymore, but this is the material, ladies and gentlemen, which is used for production of these pearls. When you see them actually here, and let me just show them to you, here they are. So these are the pearls who are actually produced here. So we have this famous secret recipe from the 18th century, and we are still producing it. They got really famous that even some really famous women in the world used to wear them, like the English queen, well, now late queen, of course, Elizabeth, the Danish queen, Margaret as well, Princess Diana. They all have been wearing these pearls, ladies and gentlemen, and we have them pretty much everywhere here in different sizes, in different ways. They make them, they combine them with lots of different stones as well. So that's why I can say definitely it's a place that you can, if you come here, you're going to definitely like it. Ladies, I'm sure about that you're going to fall in love with these things. Of course, you have some question about this, you will let me know, or you just write it down.
Yes, we always do, but yes, and by the way, these are not inexpensive, in case you were wondering.
Oh
They
yeah,
are
good that
fabulous,
is.
amazing quality, I would agree. But we do have a few other questions also, just in general, about this area, Apostolis. Arnold wants to know, is North Macedonia considered to be a Slavic or a Greek nation?
Good question. Okay, let me just explain this as well. So, okay, let me turn the camera towards myself. When we talk about this country here, it's part of Yugoslavia, actually former Yugoslavia, right? So it's definitely a Slavic country, because this country used to be part of Yugoslavia from 1945 until 1991. So those were the times after the Second World War. That's when these people, the Yugoslavian people, they used to be here. Of course, they were living, the Slavic people, they live here, they inhabited this place from the 6th century after ACA. So after that, they spread up the roots and they never left. So that's why even nowadays we say that these people who live here are actually Slavic people. However, the fact that you said about Greece, because it's the neighbor country, the southern, our neighbor country, and actually my name is also Greek, so I do have some Greek roots as well. I can tell you that Greece is definitely a separate country. But these two countries, they are neighbors, but they are, both of them, part of that ancient, I'm talking about geographically, part of that ancient Macedonian kingdom that used to be here, which is now taking parts from my country, almost the whole country here of North Macedonia, together with the northern part of Greece as well, and even parts of Bulgaria, because Bulgaria is also a neighbor country from the eastern part. So I believe now I answered the question, do I? Okay, let me just change the camera so we can get now to see the rest of this place here. So where was I? Where did I stop? We talked about the Roman times, I said before previously, yes. Now, the Middle Ages, as Susan said, definitely, since the Ottomans, of course, used to be here. And by the way, now let me just say a few words before the Ottomans, the Byzantine times. You see, for example, these walls here that we have, they're part of the fortress of the King Samuel, who used to be a Slavic king, that he was also living here and fighting against the Byzantines. Now, the Byzantines are actually the descendants of the Romans, as we said here. So there was this Slavic king who used to be living here. We're talking about this King Samuel, who was fighting against the Byzantine king Vasily II. 1014 was the final year when they had this final battle where our king lost the war against the Byzantine king, Vasily II, and that's when his 14,000 soldiers, they were all surrounded up on one mountain where Vasily II, he captured them, he tortured them, and he blinded them all. He took the eyes off to all of these 14,000 soldiers. So this is what really happened. And after this, the Byzantines took over the control of this place here, and they stayed here from the 11th until the 15th century. And in the 15th century, my dear friends, well, what I say, I'm joking about this. We just changed the occupators. The Ottomans got here instead, and they stayed here for another 500 years. Now, during those times, as I said, during those Ottoman times, when the Ottoman Empire took control here, the Jewish population remained small until the Jews from Spain and Portugal, they arrived. The Jews that were escaping from the acquisition, right? So, and the Ottoman ruler, the Sultan, the Bayezid, I think I remember Bayezid, yes, Bayezid II, he welcomed them here. So he gave them many rights, such as the right to buy property, to build synagogues as well, and to business. So cities like, I'm talking about in my country, Skopje, like Ohrid, this place here, like Manastir, or now Bitola, were actually, and Štip as well, they were the places where there were lots of Jewish people, Jewish community. So they were places, homes for many Jewish people who they were successful in trading, in banking, in medicine as well, and law. So there is also a Jewish cemetery nowadays in one of these cities, in Bitola, by the way, my dear friends, which was built in 1497, actually. So that's, by the way, the oldest, considered to be as the oldest in North Macedonia here, actually, that we have, and possibly even in all the Balkan. So I think it is. You can also check, by the way, you can let me know, because I'm actually starting fresh with the Jewish tours, and I hope that I'm right about this thing. This is what I have found. Now, let me take you here talking about the food. Susan mentioned about the food, that some of the food, my dear friends, you're going to find it quite familiar, because since those times when the Ottomans used to be here and the Jewish people that were here, actually, I had no idea that some of these typical food dishes that we have, traditional ones, are actually part Jewish, or I should say that they are actually coming from the Jewish people. I think that this thing here that you see, this is dolmas. I think it's said the same also in Jewish. You will let me know. You correct me, but these are the wine leaves which are rolled with some rice and minced meat. That's how they do it. Then also they have, but I don't see it here on the pictures. From the meatballs, keftes. They actually we call them here koftin. So and I think that they're called similar keftedes or keftes also in your language. So you will let me know. You just said to me, and I will explain to you definitely some more of the typical food that we have here. Of course, the salad is something that we have here normally because we are a country that we have our own, we grow our own fruits and vegetables, definitely. So we do like this thing. Then, of course, we have here, as you can see, the stuffed peppers. Kimista, actually. I don't know, maybe you call it the same. They are served with rice or rice and minced meat. Then also you have this traditional dish, the beans that you can see cooked in a clay pot, we call them tavche gravche here. And of course, we have this next thing that you see here, the village meat, which is made from beef or pork. It can be, and lots of vegetables. So you can put pretty much every vegetable that you can find in your fridge, like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, zucchini, aubergine, I mean, peas, lots of stuff. Definitely, it's really nice. And then we have the ivar, which is made from the peppers. This is a peppers paste. And then we have, if you like garlic, I do like garlic, definitely. This is the garlic dip, which is definitely really delicious. You put it on the bread and you eat it as an appetizer, and I guarantee that your appetite will rise up to the roof, 100% sure, proven. Then, of course, we have the burgers, leskavica, and of course, some of the fish. On the left side that you see, this is the Ohrid trout that we have here, and the one that has this salmon, kind of like the salmon taste. And we have the white trout as well, which is definitely really delicious, beautiful. Right. Questions about the food? Anybody that would like to talk about the food, you will let me know. And of course, I forgot to mention that all of these things that we eat, you can try them with some local wines because there are some production of really beautiful wines here. And we do have definitely some really good rakia. Now, rakia, anybody heard of rakia? That is an alcoholic drink, my dear friends, which is made from um, grapes. Most of the time they make it from grapes, but also they make it from peaches, from sour cherry, from apricots, from most of the fruits. And I can tell you that rakia is, well, officially we make it here like 40 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees. And yeah, that is the one, actually. Dolma, perfect, yes. Then we have also, as I said, the rakia, which is, like I said, really high percentage of alcohol, around 40%, and officially. Non-officially, that these people make it for themselves. Now, that one can be sometimes, I can tell you, even 60 to 70% of alcohol. Right. So let me just continue now talking about the rest of this place here, as I said. So since the Ottomans used to be here, as I said, now we can just see the houses next to here each other. They're looking quite beautiful. But let me just leave the car to pass here. 1 second. Because trust me, not only people, but there are actually cars passing here because people are living here. So if you come here in the old town of Ohrid, well, if you want to stay in the old town of Ohrid, well, they are going to, I quote, I say, promise you a parking slot, but eventually you will not going to find that many. Okay, getting back to the old town of Ohrid and these houses. So you can see even the street lights, which are representing the Ohrid style of house, as you can see what we say here, the Macedonian style. But these kind of houses, if you come here around, you will find that not only in my country, but also, or state, how you would say in your place, you can find them in many other ones, like in Greece as well, and you will find them in Serbia as well. You can find them also in Bosnia and Herzegovina as well. But also you will find them in Turkey, because in the old cities, they have these kind of houses here. Now, let me just get back and explain you some things about the houses. Do you see how they look like? I mean, they look like pyramids, but only upside down. They have the ground floor, which is thinner, the first floor wider, the second even more wide, as you can see. Now, do you have any guess, any idea why they used to build them in this way? Any guess? Anybody? I'm going to just leave you for a few seconds to think about that, because you see they have the ground floor thinner, the first floor wider, the second even more wide. Let me tell you this: they were doing that back in the times because they were actually paying less taxes, ladies and gentlemen. Less taxes. So that means that back in the times they were actually quite really clever. Well, I should say maybe they took these ideas from the Jewish people. I think they are really smart people. I mean, definitely, that's what I think. Nowadays that you see these houses are actually all of them looking almost alike, and they're all protected from UNESCO. So let me just turn around the camera so you can see it from this side, and you will see how really they are close next to each other, in front of each other. The reason for that, they say they were building them in this way because for gossiping. Because in this way you will be able to see what your neighbor is doing, especially what they do in their bedroom. So no way to hide any secrets. But also they say, ladies and gentlemen, they were building them in this way because I said like 18th and the 19th century. They were building them in this way because when the Ottomans were chasing these people here, in order to escape from them, well, they were actually getting in their house, and secretly from the first or the second floor they would go out and jump from one house into another one, so they will escape from the Ottomans. What do you think? Was it possible? Here it is. If somebody wants to kill you, what you gonna do? Anyway, I wanted to say that this is maybe true, maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. But if this was true, then I would say that in the 18th century that we were the first ones that developed the parkour. These movies that actually were jumping guys from one house to another one. But nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, these houses are private properties. So people are actually living here. So to live in the old town of Ohrid in these houses, because this is a protected, UNESCO protected area, means that you need to respect some certain rules. That means that you are not allowed to change the appearance of the city, of the houses, sorry. They have to be the same. So when you live in these houses, you, in order to make some kind of changes, you will have to ask for permission from the municipality of Ohrid. And then, of course, they will report it to UNESCO. And of course, they will check on you to see what you do, how you do the house, and you need to do it under this certain schedule, and you cannot change it. So that's why living in these houses can be, sorry about my English, but I have to say like pain in the ass, because you need to respect the rules and you cannot change them. Not to mention if they find something beneath your house, well, in that case, like an early Christian basilica or some kind of ancient theater, in that case, you're going to be in trouble because you might even lose the house. Now we talk about this house here, which is one of the museums, as you can see. Look at this beautiful architecture that it has. So this used to be the house of this Robe family. That used to be one rich family that used to be living here between the 18th and the 19th century. Back in the times, they used to be one of the richest family. You can actually see it says right up there. It's right up there, the house of Robe family. They were traders. We're talking about these old people who used to be here living. I'm talking about like for generations over generations, and they were actually merchandisers. They were trading with valuable stuff like silver and gold as well. As I said, don't forget, we said that the Jewish people used to be here living in these places as well, and they were actually quite really, talented, and they were actually craftsmen. They were actually making some beautiful stuff here. So here what you see in front of us, this is one of the golden masks that was founded here in the old town of Ohrid, which is from the 6th century BCE. We are talking about a really old one. It was founded in one of these houses, my dear friends. So this golden mask that you see here, and then also, if you see on the other picture here, we are talking about these wood carvings that people used to be living here, and they are now still, some of these families are actually still working, making these beautiful wood carvings, and everything is handmade. Now, I don't know if we will have a chance, because it's like already after 7 o'clock p.m. If we find some of the workshops open, I am going to show you, and you will see how they're actually producing these beautiful, amazing wood carvings, and we're talking about everything handmade. Another thing that I would like to tell you about the houses, you can see even here, the wood is actually used in between the houses here, my dear friends. As you can see, they are keeping the wood in between the rocks, like one of the main construction materials. They were doing that because, I don't know if I mentioned this, we are, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are still seismically active place. We do have some earthquakes happening occasionally from time to time. So that's why I have to say that these people had to find a way how to make the house to be more flexible against the shock waves. So that's why, my dear friends, they were building the houses in this way, and they were using the wood in between the stones because the wood was making the house to be much stronger. So that's why nowadays they have left, and they are actually quite old. I'm talking about maybe 200 years old. Okay, let me just leave the car to pass once more. And let me get back to the times of the Ottomans. As I said, since the Ottoman times with the Sultan Bayezid II, we actually welcomed the Jewish people here. So he gave them, as I said, the rights, and they used to have, like I said, the right for buying property. So they used to have a property here. They were building in synagogues as well. Did you know that actually here, back in those times, that point in this country here, now North Macedonia, there were actually about 9 synagogues in the city of Bitola in Monastir. Skopje had actually 3 synagogues as well, and Stip, there is another city that used to have 2 synagogues, ladies and gentlemen. And now here we got stuck with the cars. Okay, let me try to pass. So the relations between the Jewish and the non-Jewish were actually quite good. So a Jewish man named Isaac Jafari, who wrote a letter in the 1400s, he was telling actually to the Jews in Germany and Hungary to move to this Ottoman Empire because the life was actually quite better there in those times. Even in the 1560s, an Italian visitor said the Jews were the largest group in Skopje, my dear friends. I actually didn't know about these things by before. Now, actually, since you came and of course I was preparing, I have found out about these things. And then I will tell you also something else. Let me see here, because I see they're actually closing, unfortunately. But I'm going to try to show you some things here that we have from this museum of this National Paper Museum. Well, let me just find it here. It says the Paper Museum. We are talking about the paper, which is an ancient technology of production of this paper since those times. I'm talking about from the 2nd century before Christ, BCE, from the Chinese people. So let me just try to explain to you. Here we have at least some examples of this paper, so you can see how it looks like. Yeah, he's actually closing, but at least we can see it from here. So this is the paper. This is how it looks like. I can just explain to you definitely. So we're talking about this paper. We're talking about the paper which is made from wood and cotton and wood. Let me try to show it to you right here, the history, so you can actually see it and read it in English. So the tradition of the production of this paper in Macedonia began in the middle of the 16th century, as you can see. So in the monastery of St. Naum, so which is about 28 kilometers, so let's say around 14, 15 miles, if I'm not wrong, from here, from Ohrid. So it is believed that the process of papermaking was brought by Jacob the Macedonian, the priest who used to work in Venice in the time. Jacob. Does it sound familiar to you? I think it should probably. Maybe he was having actually Jewish roots. In this period, like I said, so due to its location, the St. Naum, the monastery was relatively isolated and functioned as an independent enclave. So the paper was used exclusively for internal needs. So also the Jewish people were actually even involved in these things, and they were actually also producing here books as well. So the procedure, as I said here, it says it's authentic as to the oldest Chinese procedure from the 2nd century before Christ, my dear friends, before BC. Transferred to Europe in the 13th century, my dear friends. Unfortunately, as I said, they are actually closing it here. The next time we will try to do this tour maybe a bit earlier, but don't worry, we're going to have now some more time to see and visit some other places. And of course, meanwhile, just feel free to ask me anything and let me know, of course, if I'm still online, because at some point here, sometimes I lose the data. Susan, are we here still? Okay, we are.
are.
Thank you.
I've been
Perfect.
annotated on the side, so I don't want to interrupt too much. But the question also arises about the proximity to Thessaloniki. Many of us know about that. That actually was, you mentioned the proximity to Greece, and in particular, where Ohrid is to Thessaloniki, and the fact that Thessalonica at one point actually had a majority of Jews living in the city. So
The
that,
biggest,
yes, the
I would
biggest,
say.
exactly, exactly. So was that a major trade route? Is that why there were so many that also came to North Macedonia and in particular to Ohrid?
Yeah, first of all, geographically, the Thessaloniki from this city is only around 300 kilometers. So you do the math, you let me know how many miles. I think it's around 200 miles, if I'm not wrong. So this is really close. So, like I said, not to mention not only Thessaloniki, but yeah, the Thessaloniki definitely back in those times used to be the biggest Jewish community that used to have around 50,000 Jewish people. Then after that, of course, we said about Skopje as well, right? So we said Skopje is the capital city of this country that used to have these people, and also Bitola or Monastir, which is really close to the Greek border. So that's why there were actually quite a lot of Jewish people there, like 8,000 only in Bitola. I'm talking about, and this city, Bitola Monastir, is only 70 kilometers, so that will be around 50 miles only from the city of Ohrid. So you see, this is the reason why these people used to come here, and they used to be here. And of course, in the end of the tour, I'm going to get to the Church of Saint Sophia, and this is something which I would like to also to mention after that. But before, now I would like to show you something else here, because I see the other workshop is actually open, the wood carvings. So let me just turn the camera, because I would like you to see these crafts. Maybe we couldn't see the paper making, but you can see definitely this beautiful thing. Look at it. So this is what you see, everything handmade. And now, if you want, you can just pay a visit. You know, you can find this online, the Wood Carving Gallery Tron, which is also online store. And inside here, you will have a chance to see how these people used to make these beautiful wood carvings. And I'm talking about everything handmade. So now you see actually the person is working. Okay, let me just see what he's doing, so you can also see. Look at his beautiful art. Look at it. My dear friends, look at it. This is what you see in the middle of a process. As you can see now, let me explain you a few things about this beautiful art. The wood which is used, first of all, is the walnut tree. The walnut was always, and will be the best quality that they are using. And he's making from the wood, as you see, these beautiful masterpieces. And let me show you some of the ready arts, the ready pieces. I mean, the final ones. Look at this beautiful wood carving that you see here. And now I'm going to explain to you about the story of these wood carvings. Not to mention that even the Jewish people used to make these things, I can tell you, because they were making furniture like the tables and chairs as well. Of course, this person here, he's a Christian, but that's why you can see he's actually working and making these beautiful icons on the background, as you see here. So, first of all, the wood that he's using, the walnut tree, he's or buying it from a factory, and in order to buy it for 1 square meter, no, cubic meter, sorry, or 3 cubic feet, he needs to pay 2,000 euros only for that material. Or there is the other version where he can just pick it up by himself. He can just slice it, the wood, and he will have to keep it in a cool, dry place for about 2 years to get dry, so he can start working on it. And look at some more of these beautiful, as you can see here, beautiful pieces. Look at it. Now, let me explain you how he's doing these things, and let me give you some more information about the techniques. The only set of the only tools that he is using here, as you can see, are this set of chisels that he has, and this improvised hammer, by the way, and of course his talent. So there it is. He's working. This is one of the 3 different, let's say, techniques. He's working now doing the 3-dimensional version, as you can see, because this one, as you can see, he works from the front, but also he's working from the back side. That's why you can see it's actually hollow. You see in between there are some holes. There it is. The second version would be like, let me try to explain, to find it, or he can just show it to me. Oh yeah, the three-dimensional. One second, let me just turn it around. So there it is. You see, this is a three-dimensional. It has the background, but he's working. This is one piece of wood, and he's making it to be like this. And of course, the two-dimensional, which is the most easiest, would be something like, let me see here. I'm not talking about this down part, but I'm talking about this one here. So these are the the two-dimensional parts. So he's working, doing these beautiful masterpieces, and well, let's say in the churches, for example, here, because they're mostly like Christians, Orthodox, but I can tell you in the churches, they are actually making the altars of the churches, and they are doing them like this. Like, for example, this piece of art. It's his piece of art. He did it. This is 4 meters wide, so that's around 3 meters, or no, that's like 12 feet wide, 3 meters long, so around 9 feet height, sorry. And he needed like 1.5 years to make all of these things. So, ladies and gentlemen, back in the times here, there was a special school that was specialized about these wood carvers, and there were people who were actually studying there until 1969, my ladies and gentlemen. And of course, like I said, there were people who were here studying about that. And like I said, probably not only just Christians, but also there were Jewish people who were doing these beautiful crafts, beautiful ones.
So I'll just chime in here because this is some of the research that I had done as well. And yes, this is actually, as we're seeing this craftsman work this, picture a Jewish craftsman, because they were all together at that time, learning from each other. And they were skilled in carving the woodwork for the Torah arcs, they had Ladino inscriptions, for example, with local craft, and this is exactly how they would have made it then. They also combined Ottoman floral designs with Hebrew symbols. So sadly, the synagogues don't exist today for a number of reasons. I'm sure you'll get into that a little later, certainly with World War II. But at the time, this was a skill set that both the Christians and the Jews would share this incredible talent and be able to do it. In this case, we're seeing it for churches, but of course we can imagine a Jewish woodworker doing it for synagogues as well.
Definitely, yeah. That's why I said. So, as I said previously, I mean, we're talking now. I have to get back to the point when the Middle Ages, well, even before the Ottoman times. So the Romanian Jews, the group that used to be living here, like I said, in the Balkans, on for so many centuries. Some Jewish people were actually became well known here during those times. For example, we're talking about Leo Munk II. Did I spell it right? Munk or Munk? Maybe Sarah will help me. Susan will help me about this. I'm really not so good with the names. He was a publisher. He was a philosopher who became a Christian, and later he served as the Archbishop of Ohrid. We're talking about another famous Jew. For example, also Judas Leon ben Moses Mosconi, who was actually born here in 1328. He wrote religious books and later worked as a doctor even for the king in Mallorca. So he transferred. He actually was not living all the time here. He also built a large library here that scholars used to have for many years. And when we're talking about Leo II, Leo Munk II, the Archbishop of Ohrid. Now I would like to show you something here that we have on the left side. Maybe it's going to be close as I can see, but here we can see this church that I'm talking about. So this is Saint Sophia, the church that was built in the 11th century. And the Archbishop of Ohrid back in those times, as I mentioned before, let me just find a way how I can show it to you, maybe on the other side because it's close. As I said, it was Leo II who was actually a Jewish. My dear friends, to be honest, even I knew the name of this person, but when I started learning about the Jewish heritage generally, only then I found out that this person was actually having the Jewish roots, and he was actually the Archbishop of Ohrid here. So this is the church that we are talking about that was built here in the 11th century, and this used to be the church which used to be the Archbishop of Ohrid, and it's an 1,000 years old church. As I said, maybe the next time we're going to probably try to make the tour a bit sooner, let's say at least half an hour sooner, so it's going to be much easier to see it. This is a Byzantine church, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So it was built, as I said, from the 11th century, and it's one of the most important churches because the Archbishop of Ohrid was actually here, built in the 11th century. So that's why it makes to be one of the really most important churches. But as Susan said before, there are 365 churches here, so that's why they are calling the city of Ohrid the Jerusalem of the Balkan, my ladies and gentlemen. Right, how many times do I have left, Susan? Let me know.
Oh, sadly, we only have about 10 minutes left. So I know you're getting
left.
through a lot of things in a lot of centuries, but we did find it fascinating that Leo II Mung, who served as Archbishop, as put in the notes, was Jewish born. He converted. It was incredible. He studied under Tobiah ben Eliezer before converting to Orthodox Christianity. And he rose to become Archbishop. And again, I'm so glad that you showed us that church because it is remarkable. It is remarkable. And perhaps you could tell us also in those days, it seems like, okay, we're talking the Middle Ages, but Jews and Christians lived side by side in that time.
Yeah, definitely. They used to live here side by side. I can tell you for sure about that, definitely. So during those times, and even after that, since the Ottoman times, and after the Ottoman times, the Jewish also joined in the fight for freedom for the Ottoman rule. I'm talking about like after the Ottoman times, and also during the Ottoman times. Many took part in even the uprising. I'm talking about now even after the Ottoman times in 1903. Ilinden was actually one of the uprising here against the Ottomans. They were actually also involved. And for example, Raphael Moshe Kamhi, he led a group of fighters. Others, for example, like Mentes Holomnos, Santo Aroesti, and the Mason brothers, they helped by giving also money and weapons to the fighters. So they were actually with them together. They were all the time, whether that was a peace or it was not, let's say, a peace. They were actually here for many years until, unfortunately, as we said, well, of course, since the Second World War. So before the Second World War, the Jews that used to be here in the area, called North Macedonia nowadays, they were lived, as I said, in Bitola. There were like 8,000 of them. Skopje, there were 3,000 of them. Štip as well, 500. And these are all cities which are quite really close to my city of Ohrid. Right. Okay. Now, I'm thinking about, okay, I would like to show you one more place because I think I see it now open. Some of the old craftsmen's, actually an antique shop. So this is something which I like. Probably is going to be the last thing that we're going to show to you. And it's getting a bit late at the moment, as I can see. I hope that you can still see that because it's getting dark here slowly. As you can see now here, we're going to get inside in this beautiful antique store. You will see that these people are having these quite interesting, beautiful dresses. I would say that they are originals, and we're talking about since the Ottoman times. We are talking about these kind of dresses that people used to have them wearing them, like let's say the wedding clothes back in the times. So some of these tailors that used to produce them back in the times were actually even Jewish. And oh, hi there. Let me try, and of course, Susan, you will let me know if we have still good connection inside here, because as I'm getting inside, I know that sometimes the connection can get a bit, not so good. I would like to show you some beautiful collection of these beautiful clothes that people used to have them here. And there it is. As I said, back in the times, since the Ottoman times, these people here, and of course, and the Jewish people were actually really good craftsmen, and they were actually making some beautiful clothes, and we're talking about everything handmade. By the way, that you see here, everything in the moment, this is all handmade, and here I am at the moment. Right, let me just show to you some more of these beautiful clothes. So in order to make some of these clothes, the wedding dresses back in the times, ladies and gentlemen, people were making them really slow because they were all handmade. In order to produce some of the clothes, probably they will need like 1 year, 2 year. So that's why the wedding was taking probably like maybe 5 years in advance, because you will need to wait for only 2 years for the dress and the rest of the preparation. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, canceling the wedding was not an option at all back in those times, because if you would cancel the wedding, there was a bullet for you. I'm talking about 5 years wasted for nothing. So these people were a kind of, let's say, too much of conservative back in the times. I'm talking about since those Ottoman times. So they were predestined, let's say, to be with somebody living, and they had this person that was going to be their wife or husband, how you say, and they had no any other choice. But anyway, the weddings that was happening, they were quite really luxurious, because they wanted to show the people how much of let's say wealth they had. So that's why this kind of clothes that they used to have, they were actually really, really expensive. Nowadays, some of these clothes, because I said previously, are really originals. They can worth like maybe 4, 5, 6,000 euros, dollars, or even more than that, because they are made from gold and silver as well. Let me just try to show you once more here. I have see it. So this is what you see. Everything is silver, by the way. There it is. And I can try to show you also some of, let me try to find, I think they do have some pictures of the wedding couples. Yeah, there it is. Perfect. I see it right here. Give me one example. 1 second.
By the way, we've had a couple of questions Deborah has asked, and a few others as well. Did the Jews wear similar clothes or the same? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So if you go to some of the costume museums, particularly those in Israel and in other places, and I put this in Zoom chat, we were fascinated to see, especially as Apostolis said, for weddings, very, very, very similar dress.
There it is. I just showed to you. By the way, do you see particularly this woman here, the dress that she's wearing? You can find it even on the 2000 dinar bill from the currencies that we have here. On the 2000 dinar bill, you can find the same one that you see here. And everything that she's wearing, this is all silver, by the way. It was really heavy, just like the soldiers wearing now the equipment nowadays, like, I don't know, 40 pounds of equipment. It was really heavy. And some of the jewelries that you see here, you can see it right here. There it is, right in front of you. Some of it. I'm not talking all of it, but some parts of it, definitely. Right. Okay. Susan, tell me, how many minutes do we have left?
We don't have much left, but I do think that we do need to address probably the darkest time. Why are there no Jews there today? Because of World War II, obviously. And we did get a question as well from Gail about did no Macedonia rescue Jews during the Shoah, the Holocaust, like Albania did? So this is a very, very dark period, but that it is part of history. So perhaps you can comment about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, those times, ladies and gentlemen, when the inevitable happened, many of these people were actually taken, like I said, even though the Skopje, I'm trying to turn the camera here, even though that, for example, Skopje used to be the place where there were almost 3,000 Jews. This was the place where actually all of them, like 100% of them were taken from there. And all of them were actually taking them together with the ones in Thessaloniki, because that's where it used to be the biggest majority. I'm talking about the biggest community there. Like, we were talking about 50,000 people, and that's where they were sending them from Thessaloniki over the seas. They were taking them. They were sending them, of course, straight to the concentration camps. The how you call them, like Auschwitz and all of these places. So this is something that definitely I would like just to say a few words, and I would like to pay respect to that, because we all know, after all, that many people were actually unfortunate to have this unfortunate fate. And that's why even in Skopje, you do have, for example, in the center of the city, I'm talking about in the old town, in the capital city of Skopje, there is also the Holocaust as well, the place where they're actually paying memories, of course, to these people, and you can find them in the places like that. As I said, also, they're paying a lot of respect to the Jewish cemeteries that we have not exactly in my city of Ohrid, but also the city of Bitola in Monastery. So perhaps maybe I can also try and give you some information, Suzanne, for the next time, and we can try to make some tour also in Bitola, because Bitola is another city that has also some parts of the Jewish community, and of course as well in Skopje. But yeah, generally this is what happened. People here, I can tell you for sure that these people had no any problems whatsoever with the Jewish people. I can tell you for sure, and they used to have really good relations, because these people were kind of even learning some of the techniques of the way of the lives. Because previously, if you remember, I said, for example, the food. Did you see? I just showed to you in some of the restaurants some of the food that actually we have, and we are saying like traditional food. Well, the same food that actually the Jewish people had it, and we have this kind of because of the Jewish people. And honestly, I told you before, I even didn't know about these things, like for example the keftes or the sarma, what we say, or dolmas that we have them. We have them here for a long time, but I didn't know that actually coming from there. Right, it's getting really dark. Right, do you have any other question,
It is
Susan?
getting dark, and I know that we ended with, but I could not obviously talk about, the Jewish life when it was thriving to when it virtually it ended with World War II. But it's super interesting. Tell us about the last thing that I'd like you to tell about is today's North Macedonia, today's Ohrid, what it is in terms of its diversity, about welcoming, about as a Jew, could I go there and feel comfortable and walk around and feel very safe?
Definitely, I can tell you, because now we do have here Jewish people coming from not only from Israel, but actually from other places. We do have, because it's a tourist place, and you will have no problem whatsoever with these people here, because after all, these people have been living together with the Jewish people even for longer times. So we're talking about, remember I said before previously, we're talking about even the Roman times, even before the Roman times. I got really dark at the moment, right? Definitely you will have no problems about that whatsoever so far, because me personally, I have been dealing and working with Jewish tourists as well, not only how to say, privately, like let's say for 1-2 people, but also even with bigger, larger groups. They're coming here, and you will have definitely no problems about that. I mean, you need to come. Definitely, you will be surprised to see the history of this place, and you will be really surprised to see how many similarities we do have here. I mean, I was really surprised when I started learning about your history. I hope that I learned it well. I do have lots of things to learn still, honestly, to be honest,
Well, we
but
did
I can tell you.
a great job. We did a lot of work on it, I will say, and a lot of research because, it's something that I was unfamiliar with, and I'm glad that we did this together. We had some questions, for example, that folks had certainly about this. A lot of people don't know it. I didn't know about North Macedonia as well. So that was great. I'm going to put this on as well, little daylight behind me. But it's fascinating, especially how the proximity to Thessaloniki. I mean, as you said, it's just, a couple hundred miles away, and then also to Bitola, which is just 43 miles away. So there's so
Oh, yeah.
much history and heritage for those of us. My group over here certainly included today, who asked so many great questions about this. I mean, so many areas we know so much more about, but really what this was, especially with the smaller Jewish communities like in Ohrid, but very, very important in terms of its contributions, seeing the clothing, hearing about the food, seeing the food as well. And I put in lists of that as well. It's incredible.
Oh, food. Food. When you
Small
talk about food, we
community,
can talk about like for hours.
exactly, exactly. So the more we uncover, the more we see the influence of it. I was laughing, saying, well, of course a Jew rose to be archbishop. He really excelled. So
I mean,
we joked about
yeah,
that.
I remember. I mean, you said we talk about this, and I mentioned about that, and actually, that's when we discovered about this thing. I mean, I know about this person, like I'm talking about, saying this to like countless of groups. I only discovered this like recently, that he had a Jewish roots, and we all know about this person.
Right. And I see that some of our group, Jesse included, had been there. He was there in 1980, a long time ago. So things have changed quite a bit. but
Well,
it's
yeah, that was
yeah,
Yugoslavia, like the communist times, let's say. So these were the times when the communism used to be here, but it was not a typical communism because in the end, there was this the president of former Yugoslavia, Tito, who used to be a really smart person, and he was the one who actually hold the country together. Country as the states, let's say. It was union of my country, Serbia, and Montenegro, Croatia, Bosnia Herzegovina, and Slovenia. So they were all living together from 1945 until 1991.
yeah.
So they were all together.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And I want to thank you for taking us in 1 hour as much as we could through Roman times all the way up to current times and seeing everything and the colorful things and the great questions that we got from this community, a very scholarly community, fantastic, and really, really great. And so I want to thank everyone there, as I mentioned, and I want to thank Sherelle and the whole group over there. You will be getting the trip kit sent by Sherelle afterwards to give you even more books you can read, films, different things to really throw yourself into. I know we had a good time doing that as well. One last practical question like this from Ronald very, very quickly. Winter, is it cold? Is it quiet? What's winter like? Or did we lose him? Oh no, there he is.
Well, yeah, unlike the summertime when we have, as you can see, obviously summer, you can come for a swimming. The winter time, because we are a mountain country, you have to know that sometimes we do have snow, and sometimes on the mountains there is always snow, like from October, let's say November, until May of June. So the temperatures can drop below 0 degrees Celsius. So that's around, how much was it in Fahrenheit? 30
Cold.
Fahrenheit. Yeah,
Yeah, cold.
definitely. Cold it
Yeah,
is.
but this is a beautiful time of year. We go there often with you. It's absolutely lovely. And so we are at the top of the hour. Apostolis, thank you so much on behalf of Wowzitude and our group today. We are thrilled. We have so many different synagogues, JCCs, and others joining us. And Sherelle, over to you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Apostolis. It's lovely to host you again with our CSP group. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be seeing you in our next programs, and have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are. Bye, everyone.